Hello, my name is Florence and this is The Know. Here are today's top stories. Stormy Daniels testifies in court against Donald Trump. Nationwide issue involving airport e-gates operated by the Border Force have been resolved after causing hours of delays for passengers. And the US paused shipment of bombs to Israel last week over fears it would go ahead with Rafah invasion. Keep watching to find out more. Stormy Daniels faced off against Donald Trump in court over claims that the former president's fixer gave her hush money payments to keep their alleged 2006 affair a secret. The former adult star took to the stand and gave a detailed account of the sexual encounter she claims to have had with Mr. Trump. She claimed that they did not use a condom during their encounter, that she spanked Mr. Trump with a magazine while at his penthouse, as well as allegedly eliciting answers about his wife Melania. They met, according to Ms. Daniels, during a celebrity golf event where Mr. Trump invited her for dinner at his suite. She alleges that this is where the sexual encounter occurred and maintains it was consensual, but the experience left her disoriented. Donald Trump, on the other hand, spent part of the court proceedings shaking his head in anger and cursing while listening to Ms. Daniels, which prompted the judge to give him a warning. The crux of the criminal case lies around a reimbursement Donald Trump made to his lawyer, Michael Cohen. Mr. Cohen claims he was told to pay Stormy Daniels £104,000 in exchange for her silence over the alleged affair. The former president faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records over the payment. Trump has pleaded not guilty, but if convicted, the former president could see a maximum of 5 years in prison, and if he avoids jail, he could be paying a hefty fine. A guilty verdict will also have huge political ramifications for the upcoming November election, which will see incumbent Joe Biden face off against former President Donald Trump. Recent polls indicate the two politicians are neck and neck against each other. Airport e-gates are back up and running after causing hours of delays for passengers across the UK due to a technical fault. British travellers were left standing in snaking queues for hours after a fault involving passport e-gates operated by the UK Border Force caused delays. Passengers shared their frustration on social media, sharing videos and images of long queues with no end in sight. Some travellers complained that children were left without food or water for hours as they waited for the gates to work. British Airways, in a message sent out to passengers, said, "We are sorry to inform you that due to an IT issue at Border Force UK, you might experience some delays in disembarking your plane and clearing immigration at London Heathrow. This is outside of our control. Our teams are working with the Border Force to ensure you can clear immigration as soon as possible." Other passengers complained of waiting for hours in the tarmac after landing, but the pilots were not being given the clearance to taxi into a gate to allow passengers to disembark. A Home Office spokesperson said in a statement early on Wednesday, "E-gates at UK airports came back online shortly after midnight, as soon as engineers detected a wider system network issue at 7:44 p.m. last night. A large-scale contingency response was activated within 6 minutes. At no point was border security compromised, and there is no indication of malicious cyber activity." And finally, the US has revealed that they have halted a shipment of bombs to Israel last week over fears of an impending invasion of Rafah. A senior official in the US administration said the shipment would have consisted of 1,800 2,000-pound bombs and 1,700 500-pound bombs. The latest development comes after Israeli tanks rolled into the Rafah crossing on the Gaza side and took operational control of the area. On Monday, Israel had ordered over 100,000 civilians in a part of Rafah to move to an expanded safe zone by dropping leaflets in the area. The IDF has announced that they are conducting a limited operation in eastern Rafah to eliminate terrorists, uncover tunnels and shafts. The Israeli Air Force has also reportedly struck over 100 targets in Gaza since Tuesday. Rafah is currently teeming with over 1 million refugees who had fled earlier invasions of northern Gaza and fled south as the army moved towards the center and finally besieged Rafah. The latest escalation comes despite Hamas agreeing to a ceasefire deal, as Netanyahu's office said the proposal agreed to was far from Israel's essential demands. Israel has, however, sent negotiators to Egypt to continue negotiations on a ceasefire agreement. The Rafah crossing is an essential route for international aid to get to Gaza, which has been closed since the Israelis took over. However, they have opened the Karim Shalom crossing to allow aid to get to Rafah, although it is much further away and aid needs to go through to Israel and then to Gaza to reach civilians. UN Chief Antonio Guterres spoke to press after Israel announced they had taken control of Rafah crossing.
We are at a decisive moment for the Palestinian and Israeli people and for the fate of the entire region. An agreement between the government of Israel and the leadership of Hamas is essential to stop the unbearable suffering of Palestinians in Gaza and of the hostages and their families. It would be tragic if weeks of intense diplomatic activity for peace in Gaza yield no ceasefire, no release of hostages, and a devastating offensive in Rafah. I reiterate my appeal for both parties to show the political courage and spare no effort to secure an agreement now.
Israeli allies, the US and UK, have warned the country against invading Rafah, believing it will result in catastrophic human casualties. Speaking in Parliament, the Deputy Foreign Secretary Andrew Mitchell highlighted the need for an increase in aid in Gaza and protection of civilians.
Regarding the situation in Rafah, Mr. Speaker, our position has been consistent. We are deeply concerned about the prospect of a military incursion, given the number of civilians that are sheltering there and the importance of that entry point for aid. Entry points for humanitarian aid, including Karim Shalom, must be reopened quickly to allow aid in. Israel must facilitate immediate, uninterrupted humanitarian access in the south, especially the entry of fuel, and ensure protection of civilians and safe passage for those who wish to leave Rafah. As yet, we have not seen a credible plan to protect civilians.
For months, the US administration has been opposed to an invasion of Rafah without a credible plan to minimize civilian casualties. The latest development of US shipments of bombs being halted to Israel shows a growing rift between the close allies. The US sends billions of dollars worth of military aid to Israel every year and has recently pledged to send another $14 billion over the coming years. The war in Gaza has caused nearly 80% of the population of the Strip to be displaced from their home and moved around one area to another as Israeli bombardment and invasion intensified. Buildings have been flattened to the ground and large residential areas left to be concrete rubbles as the Israeli Air Force bombed Hamas gunmen in their tunnels and the military engaged in street-to-street gun battles. The death toll in Gaza has soared to over 34,000, two-thirds of which have been women and children, according to Gazan health officials. The latest war between Israel and Gaza began after the October 7th attack, in which 1,200 Israelis were killed and 252 taken hostage back to Gaza. Thanks for watching and know. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to The Mirror for more daily news updates.